Thanks for tuning in to the second part of our interview. If you haven't seen part one, you may want to check that out first. Enjoy the show.
All right.
How these things go.
Perfect.
I did want to. I feel like I can ask you this question just because I don't think it's like weird or nothing.
Oh.
But what do you feel like? What do you feel like the toughest thing has been being a spouse of somebody that either runs a business or is in the karate industry or martial arts industry?
I have two really strong opinions on this, and it's not necessarily hard. Obviously, I support it and I'm in it. Number one has to be time. You've missed countless basketball games, dance competitions, birthday parties for my grandma, or dinner party, friends, things like that, I think is like the hardest. But we have a great thing where it's, hey, I have this event that's very important to us or the family or the kids, that they say this is important, and he'll be there. He will be there if we tell him that whatever is important. Like, of course, he's not missing any graduations or those big type of events.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not saying the big events. I'm talking more the mediocre thing. You know what I mean?
Yes, I agree. Like cousins' weddings, or uncles' birthdays, or random family dinners and stuff like that. Yeah, I do remember missing a lot of Maya's early dance competitions until her senior year, where I'm like, I'm making every dance competition.
And he messed up my style. I was used to riding solo, and then all of a sudden I'm like, are you kidding me?
I made every dance competition. I think my back still hurts from sitting in those damn bleachers for 8 hours.
If you've never been to a drill competition, shout out.
Yeah. No, truthfully, like, people complain about our tournaments, how long, quote unquote, they are. They are out of their mind. Okay, dance competitions
are hours.
Not only hours, but like, okay, well, obviously you both have been to a karate tournament, okay? Once your event starts and it stops, it's roughly about 10, 15 minutes, and then you're right on to your next one, okay? It's within maybe 20 minutes of each other, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Dance competitions, you could have a dance at 8 a.m., then 12 p.m., and then 4 p.m.
And you can't lose your seat.
And you can't leave because you'll lose your seat. Okay? So when people are like, oh, that's just too long, we were at the gym for like an hour and a half, I'm like, I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
So
dance
Put your
competitions.
kid in a dance competition for a semester and then go back.
Exactly, because not only are you there for 10 hours, but you watch them perform for a grand total of 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes per dance, so maybe 10 minutes
okay,
total.
So the 10 hours for 10 minutes, not a ratio I want to deal with. So, 1 minute per hour, no.
So that, I think, is the number one that was hard for me, is like that time that I was like, oh, or like friends will be like, hey, like we're all going out Saturday night to throw axes or whatever. And I'm like, oh, he has an event this Saturday, so we can't do that. Friday nights are better, so let's do that. So that's kind of where we've had to figure out that the schedule of.
Well, and like to your credit as well, like being okay with missing the minor things, but also laying your foot down on it's like, this is a non-negotiable.
Correct.
So
my grandpa, rest in peace, 90th birthday.
I was pissed, okay?
And he was packed. Like, it was like dojo.
This was not a day to have a birthday party. And I told them, I go, if you want me to be involved, do not pick this day. And they chose that day anyways. Okay, so it was like regular teaching, then like some events, then we had the pistol class later that day. So it's like, I taught, I went to the event, I drove all the way up to Sandy to his birthday, cooked him some ribs, didn't eat, left, went to the pistol class, and then it's like 8 o'clock. I'm like, I am gassed. Like, I am tired. I hate all of you. Like, why would you make me do this? But at the same time, it's like, it was important to her, so I had to make it important to me.
And again, glad you did, because he did not make it to his next birthday.
No,
so that was
his last.
That was his last birthday, and we had family from Texas, and we had like nobody was missing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of people that it was like.
So I've had to learn to where if she says, "Hey, you need to come to this event," then I really need to go to that event. Because if she says, "Hey," she doesn't say anything, then obviously it doesn't matter. Like, don't worry about it. But if she's like, "Hey, I have my Christmas party on this day," that means, hey, start getting coverage for the studio on this day. You know? So yeah, I would agree with that.
So, and the number 2 thing that you actually taught me was having the dojo and building better people, and all of these kids that you guys teach. You are held to this really high standard to these kids that look up to you. And so he would always tell me, we're representing a brand. We're representing a brand. You never know when I'm going to run into a student. And I'm literally like, we live like 17 miles from the dojo. We'll never run into people. Oh, we have a few times. And the craziest was, we're in Mexico. In Mexico over Christmas.
This was just this year, by the way.
Like
a couple months ago.
Yeah, 6-8 weeks ago, we ran into a student.
Okay, we're on the boat in international water, and we just got done watching the Eagles play the Giants. Okay, we went to this place called the Heroes Bar. Awesome atmosphere. Everybody's having a great time. This and that. Everybody's drinking, blah, 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 blah. I'm not. So I'm watching the game. That's right.
Mission focus.
Game's on. Yeah, mission focus. Game's over. We start walking. They're like, we need to go use the bathroom. I'm like, okay, we're just going to have a seat here. I'm sitting down, and all of a sudden I look up and I make eye contact, and I'm like, these people look familiar. Oh, God, why do these people look familiar? And then all of a sudden I hear Sensei Mark, and I'm like, oh, God. And then it snapped to me who they were. It's Kai's parents. I ran into a student here. His name's Kai Webb. Okay. Kai, I love his soul to death, but he is a hyper kid, and he loves to ask questions. And his dad saw a picture that she posted on Facebook the night before, and it had the same boat they were getting on. And his dad was like, "Kai, I think Sensei Mark's going to be on the same boat we are." And so the whole time he's been looking for me. He's been looking for me. And then we ran into his parents, and they're like, Kai's going to die when we get back and tell him who we ran into. And the next day we ran into him walking, like getting off the boat. I smacked him on the head and be like, have a good time, buddy. I'll see you back on the boat. And she's all like, that's a student? I go, yep.
So I think that was that big second lesson that I even try and teach my kids, Maya and Jamin, of you're representing a brand. You might not be in karate and have that TruMotion logo on your back, but we're representing TruMotion in everything that we're doing, whether it's on our back or it's not. So we have to make sure that we're representing that brand in a good light, and that, because you never know who you're going to run into and where you'll see them, and we just have to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to, again, build better people and make sure that we are doing what we're preaching to all these people.
And it's funny because one of our first anniversaries, we always used to love to go up to Park City for the weekend. And like, again, we'd go out to dinner, and I'd never have a drink or anything. She's like, why don't you have a drink or something? Like, relax. Like it's okay. Like it's a holiday weekend. We're like nowhere near South Jordan, Utah. I go, I know, but you never know. Mm-hmm. You just never know. And we were up in Park City. We were about to go on the slide, the Park City slide. And we're like waiting in line. And I go, hey, come here. And she goes, what? I go, those are a student and a parent of mine. And they're walking up to the line, and she goes, are you kidding me? I go, no. I go, mom's name is Shelly, and I think the little girl's name is Maddie. I go, that's her mom's name's Maddie. And her daughter's name's Maddie, and that's her mom, Shelly. She goes, no, it's not. I go, hey, Shelly, how are you? And she goes, Sensei Mark, it's good to see you. And she's all like, holy crap. I go, yeah, and that's why you just, you're always got your head on a swivel, so to speak. Like, you don't do anything stupid.
And I was going to say, I don't know if it's anything bad per se. It's just you're representing a brand and you're representing being good people, and you don't want to be crazy. I guess maybe it is you don't want to be bad. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, just it's one of those things to where it's like, even if like you're okay with it, Utah's a very interesting state to where it's like.
But I have to pipe in here. So when Mark and I go to Bora Bora, I want no students to go there. So I'm gonna.
Right.
So we're gonna.
I'm gonna make a poll. Be like, hey, nobody's going to Bora Bora this time.
Correct. So if there's somebody going, we're not gonna go.
Yeah.
So that's our running joke is that.
Like we're gonna run into somebody in Antarctica or something.
Exactly, and just be like, oh. Mark always says, I'm going to run into people everywhere.
And again, like I was saying, the truth of the matter is Utah's a very different society and a different place to where it's like, something as simple as having a beer at dinner in some areas isn't that big a deal. But in Utah, you will be looked at differently, whether that's right or wrong, or if you have visible tattoos, whether it's right or wrong, you'll be looked at differently. And you never want to give anybody any kind of ammunition to be used against you. So it's like, if you're a jerk, that's not representing, like you were saying, building better people, or, because it's something greater than me.
Right.
Okay, TruMotion is far greater than one individual person. So if I do something stupid, I have to understand that it's not just making me look bad; it's making everybody associated with TruMotion look bad.
And I think that's what it is I feel some sort of sense of responsibility
and honor
that it's like, I don't want to do anything crazy and jeopardize anybody else.
Yeah. And it's like, I want them to be like, to look at you or us and be like, man, they're good people. Like, I wish there were more people like them around, happy, like they're willing to joke with each other. They know how to have a good time, but they're not crazy.
So I think those are the two things that I've had to learn about, and I don't know if that's just business, being married to someone that has a business, or if that's the karate business. I believe it's just karate business, because I don't know if I would care if you owned a t-shirt making company.
Yeah,
if I cared, if I was.
Does the t-shirt making company embody the 7 rules of Bushido and all the fine print that you have to read?
Yeah.
I think you're talking a lot about the character that you discovered, both that it had to be grown and also that you realized that needed to be promoted.
Correct. So I think it's a karate business for sure.
I definitely think so, because like you said, if I was like a apparel maker, like nobody would kind of care, so to speak. And then I keep thinking of like the Kelsey brothers. They just won the Super Bowl, and they have no care in the world with people taping them just like drunk and this and that. It's like, man, if that was me, like, and I did something spectacular, like I won $1 million at the casinos or whatever,
Best
and they
karate sensei.
inducted to the Hall of Fame or blah 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 blah, something like very prestigious for this industry. That would get all wiped out if I was videotaped, like just trashed at a party and this and that. And it's like,
so on that topic, Stephen, I have to tell you, he does have a Nacho Libre mask. So
well, it's in the dojo right now.
That's with his character. That's a high honor right there.
No, I'm gonna wear it for Halloween next year.
Okay.
Well, because she's saying that because there's a picture of Jason. I love Jason Kelsey. Like, that dude is my man. Like, if we could hang out, I would hang out with that guy every day. He was wearing Chiefs overalls and he randomly found a Lucha Libre mask on the floor in Vegas. And he wore it the rest of the night in Vegas while he was partying with Travis.
So
there's this video. It's the greatest video ever. You should try to find it. It's Travis and Taylor Swift making out on the dance floor. And then it pans right, and it's Jason Kelsey with his Lucha Libre mask on behind the DJ booth with Marshmello. Just like he's just bouncing and bobbing.
So the moral of the story is, if you do something crazy,
wear a mask.
Wear a mask.
Have some sort of
It's like Batman.
identity protection.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They have no idea who it is.
Correct. Correct.
You didn't see anything.
Correct. So yes, those I feel like, again, representing the brand all the time.
Gotcha.
Okay, now here's gonna put you on the hot seat a little bit. Okay, who's been your favorite person to deal with in the karate, besides me, in the karate industry, besides me?
What? Like, can you repeat the question?
Who's been your favorite person to deal with that's been in the karate industry?
Oh, like students?
Anybody.
Student, instructor, anybody. The person you're like, I like dealing with them. They're my favorite.
Well, if anything has taught me, I don't want to name names because I don't want to say anything, but I will say this, it is a student. And there is a student that you have taught for years, and they are special needs.
I know who it is.
And I care about them a lot. I think that I don't know how to say it. I like them a lot. I care about them, and that has shown me that building better people. And you've been with them for so many years. They've moved dojos with you. They've done this, they've done that, and you're their sense of that security, and you're their constant, and that's what
They gave me this, by the way. I'm holding up a
For
sign.
those of you without a camera, it's a little sign that says, "You are my happy place."
And I think that is when it's like when I saw what you do. And
she's lying too. This person buys her gifts also.
Oh,
she just started that a few years ago.
It doesn't hurt the subject, but
anyways, but and it's not even them in particular. I think it's the students, because I got to see what you do.
I think that was very evident when I had to spend that unfortunate week in the hospital a couple of years ago.
I would agree.
When I had to rely on you heavily for reaching out there with communication and fielding phone calls and sending emails, and just the outreach of positivity that came back with the students. And they could have easily been like, well, I'm sorry that happened, but like, who's going to teach my lessons?
Agreed.
And there wasn't any sort of like that. It was like, oh my gosh, I hope he's okay. We'll get our lessons figured out when he gets back type scenario. I mean, we ended up closing the dojo for 2 days, and then we ended up having someone from West Jordan cover Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then Jacob took a week off from work and was like, I'll cover it the following week. And we didn't even ask him to.
So I think so if I have to say like who's been my favorite, it definitely has to be the students, for sure. I think I've seen them, I hear the stories, and that is who's been my favorite, for sure.
And you haven't even had a chance to really, well, you have and you haven't. You did indirectly deal with the little ones. Okay, so maybe I'll turn it to you to tell you this, or let you tell the story about Shanna was in charge for the last 3 years of the front door of the tournament.
Shout out if you see me at the door of the tournament. Come say hi.
Which unfortunately you won't, because there's no spectator tickets anymore. So yeah, why don't you?
I'm not needed anymore.
Nope, you're off the hook. You're fired. Okay.
You heard it here first, folks. I'm fired. You fired me.
Shanna may just be standing at the door randomly, being like, "Hi,
Still
guys,"
stand there and greet people.
and then see
That's a great idea.
You'll be the greeter. You'll be like the Walmart door greeter.
I think that's
Thank
good.
you for coming to TruMotion.
Because
Come on in.
I know the story you'll share, and
Okay, so she's at the door, and obviously seeing a lot of these kids come in, and she really has no idea which ones are mine or which ones are West Jordan's or which ones are West Murray's.
Mm-hmm.
They all look the same, okay? And she's never really been in here when the kids' class is going on. So there's this one little girl, she's super nervous, crying, like, I don't think I can do it. Like,
yeah,
you tell the story.
Yeah, she was petrified. Her parents they told me, they're like, we had to like basically like force her to get into the car to come here, and she was scared. And I was like, oh, you got this, like, you're gonna do great. And she was just like fear all over her. And an hour, I don't even know how long it was, she came out, she had won first place, and she had her trophy, and she was so excited. She ran up to me and she's like, I did it. And we're high-fiving, and I'm taking pictures of her and her family, posing, and she was stoked. Like, I've never seen like that excitement of, I was scared, and it's okay, and I did it. And Mark just happened to be like by me or behind me, and he saw this interaction, and he goes, that's my student. And I was like,
well, you asked him, like, who's your sensei?
Oh, okay.
You're like, who's your sensei? And they said Sensei Mark, and they pointed. And they're like, oh, that's Sensei Mark.
And he is my favorite sensei, though. Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh. And so that, I think, too, is it's like.
It was Isabella, by the way.
Oh, students are my favorite. Students are my favorite.
Isabella was very nervous about competing. Very, very nervous about competing. And she only did sparring. Because, bless her soul, she can't really remember her forms. That's okay. She's young. She's
okay.
young. She's young, okay? But she is a terror in the sparring ring. Like, you get her against somebody her size, like, forget about it. She's tearing them apart, okay? And she took first place, and she was on cloud 9. Like, I remember before she left, she ran up to me and was holding her trophy. I did it. I got first place. And she would just... the most excited little girl you could ever meet. And she remembered Shanna giving her a pep talk before she went in, and she ran back up to Shanna to share the good news with her as well.
And what I love is because I am involved in the tournament, so then the next tournament, she remembered, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're going to do so great. And that, yeah, the students are my favorite. I love them all. I just love them all. So students definitely are my favorite.
Yeah, I love, you can't necessarily go wrong with the students, to be honest with you. I love hearing the success stories from students. And
yes.
Seeing how much they've grown, seeing how much they've come around.
Yes.
And, yeah. Okay, so let me rephrase the question. What has been your funnest moment with the instructors with TruMotion? Or is there a specific event where you're like, that was really funny, or man, that was a really good time? She's thinking.
I'm thinking. I feel like some of the best times that I personally love is when I have the instructors and maybe their spouses or girlfriends, or maybe it's just the instructors and nobody else.
Yes.
Nobody else. And when I say nobody else, nobody in Academy, nobody else.
She's talking about the old cabin trips.
No, I'm not even saying the old cabin trips. I'm just saying, because again, I'm going back to this and I sound probably like a broken record. You're representing a brand. So I like being around the instructors when it's just them.
When they can cut loose.
And they can be themselves, if that's...
Well, they don't have to be as clean as they need to be.
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's what I enjoy. I enjoy when there's no students, nobody from academy, nobody here, this, that, or the other, that it's people hanging out, having a good time, and being themselves, or again, letting their hair down. I don't know the right word.
Yeah. No,
So
I gotcha.
it's like, whether that's at a cabin, whether that's at dinners, whether that's whatever we've done, fight nights or just different
the
things
fight
where
nights at Tyler's have been fun.
that's when I've enjoyed it.
No, I agree. I agree. Anytime we have an opportunity to just get together as instructors, kind of cut loose a little bit, let your hair down, so to speak. I always like to use that reference with Master Mark because he has no hair. But just kind of like take a deep breath. Don't worry about if you don't say the wrong thing, which, to be honest with you, Master Martin and Master Lynn don't really care if they say the wrong thing anyways. But they're at that position where they can afford to do that. So, but yeah, just kind of relax with it. And there's no pressure involved with anything that's going on, because it is a very high pressure situation when you're in charge of running your own school. So, and she won't admit it, even though after I say this, I think she will admit it. She used to love the times. I mean, he's no longer kind of with us. I mean, he's not dead, but he's not teaching anymore. Loved the times with Tony Davis. Anytime Tony is around, these two cannot be quiet at all. And
We convinced Mark
yes. Okay, so
to go to Disneyland. Tony and I convinced Mark to go to Disneyland
yes. So this was
after
right
a test.
after we recertified for our 3rd degree black belt
And
test.
Tony broke his nose.
Tony had a broken nose. Okay. I was tired. I'm like, dude, I don't want to go to Disneyland. It's like I just got done getting beat up. I want to go home. I want to sit in the hot tub. And I just want to relax. And they're like, well, fine, we'll just go without you. And I'm like,
And we were prepared
That was worse.
to go to Disneyland
yeah,
without
exactly.
him.
So they're like, that's fine. We'll just go without you and we'll send you pictures. And I was like, you son of a... Fine. So we went, and Dave Garvey and his wife Alyssa went with us as well. And
We had a great time.
it was fun. You know, it was a little awkward, you know, being adulting in Disneyland. I feel weird being like not having kids with you.
And the funniest is that Mark and I were dating. So we weren't even married or engaged or anything. We were dating. And that was my very first karate trip that I went on.
Okay.
And I had a lot of rules. We can talk about my rules of hotels. I have
So
weird.
her weird rules of hotels is if you can drive your car up to the door of your hotel room, she's not staying in it.
Oh, wow.
And I do not care if it's in Calabasas, California or Camden, New Jersey.
Okay, so the hotel that we would always stay at when we would go to the old headquarters building in Irvine, well, it was technically Laguna Hills. Laguna Hills, California. Okay, there was an Audi R8 in the parking lot. Was one of these hotels, motels where you can drive right up to the door on the main floor. Everybody called it the Dead Hooker Motel, even though it's in Laguna Hills, California. She's like, Mark, I don't feel comfortable staying here. I go, Shanna, this entire hotel is filled with martial arts black belts. Not only black belts, but high-ranking black belts.
Multiple degrees.
Yes.
So he made me feel better. He said, all you really have to do is scream help. And like,
Everybody's coming out of
Place
their
is full
room.
of ninjas.
yeah, so it's like,
pretty
you're
much.
fine. So I was okay. But that was my first karate trip. And
The worst thing that came out of that is she got hooked on 90 Day Fiance.
because I was locked in a hotel room while he was recertifying. And
She had 4 hours to have nothing to do, and the only thing on TV was 90 Day Fiance, and now it's a drug she can't get rid of.
hook, line, and sinker.
No, it's a disease she can't get rid of. There's no amount of penicillin or like antibiotics that can get rid of it.
Recreational use only.
Yeah,
That was supposed to be my like guilty pleasure. So thanks for blasting it out there.
it's awful.
But the
Great.
right before we left, the kids said, "Please don't go to Disneyland."
Yep.
And we're not going to Disneyland. This is a business trip. We're literally just
We're gonna
Going
be
out
down there
there-
for like 36 hours. Like we're not going. Well, we went.
another thing. Yeah, we were there. What? I don't even know, 8 hours. Like it was like 3 to 11 or something like that.
Yeah, it was a long time.
So, yeah.
Long time.
So that is when I fell in love with Tony Davis, was standing in lines at Disneyland.
Yep, we learned a lot about each other. Well, I already knew a lot about Tony anyways. In fact, I'm going to call him. We're going to get him on the show. Except we're going to have to block out like a 4-hour time slot because the dude won't shut up.
Gotta start in the morning.
I was thinking myself, I'm like, wow, look at this.
I told
This
you.
might be a two-part. This might be a two-parter, friends.
It is a two-parter.
This is at least 2 parts.
Yeah. And
You can cut a lot out. It's okay.
Preface, she was scared out of her mind that she wasn't going to have enough to talk about, or things weren't going to be interesting to talk about. I said, "You're crazy. There's plenty of stuff to talk about."
I have a lot more to say.
Yeah.
Podcasts.
I could keep talking.
Because we are almost an hour and a half in, so we'll maybe maybe answer a couple more questions, and then we may have to have you come back for a Shanna 2.0 episode. So, but no, Tony Davis, man, that guy, I love him to death. I've known him for over 20 years. The man will not be quiet. Like, we specifically made up shirts that says, "Shut up, Tony." And we all wore them to a holiday party at the cabin, and we all put them on at the same time, and he just laughed and laughed and laughed, and then wouldn't stop talking about how great those shirts were. So, Tony, I don't know if you've heard of the podcast yet, but I'm gonna give you a call. We're gonna have you on sometime here pretty soon, okay? I could call him on the phone right now, and he would take up a half hour, just like that. Just phone to the microphone. That's how he is. So, but I love him to death, and I wouldn't have him any other way.
Anything else you'd like to know?
Stephen, you got any questions for her? I got a few questions, but
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you mentioned when you were doing the Eagles-Rams game that safety suddenly became a thing that you noticed. What other, or elaborate on that, or what other things, karate theme, martial arts, self-defense, that something that you suddenly got through osmosis?
Absolutely. I've gotten a lot, actually. Anybody that has known me, I don't pay attention to my surroundings at all, and never did.
it's pretty bad.
I could be walking in a dark alley, and a kidnapper could be behind me, about to grab me, and I wouldn't know it. So definitely, Mark taught me like self-awareness, being aware of your surroundings is a big
if
one.
strangers in vans offer you candy, don't take it.
Correct.
Or if they offer free hugs, it's not really free hugs.
Correct. The other one, big one, is being aware of like your exits and knowing doors and different things like that. Just always, again, being aware. Also the big one, he has taught us self-defense. Nothing, just how to use your purse, how to, use your keys, how to protect yourself. Maybe when you stop at the ATM, don't count your cash in the car. Carry on, and then count your cash, because you're a sitting duck. And so really just him teaching that, being aware,
That's awfully sweet of her. They don't remember any of it. And that's okay. And I still love them to death. But she is remembering a lot of the awareness things. For sure. Okay, now, do I need to teach her how to fight? No, not at all. She's been in enough scraps in her early days. She may not know karate, but you know the other phrase, right? She knows crazy. Yeah, she'll go psychopath on you, and you don't want to get in her way. Same thing with Maya. Both Maya and her have been in far more altercations than they would probably like to admit, but nothing like to the point where it's like turned into a full-on brawl.
Yeah, but I think just that, like, self-awareness.
That's become a lot better. A lot better.
And again, just knowing your exits, like going into that big stadium, it's okay, if something happens, this, and this is going to happen. You know what I mean? And sorry, Kansas City, that shooting in Kansas City, we have that plan of, okay, like we're going into this stadium of 70,000 people. We have four of us. If something happens, like this is like meeting spot. This is like, so he's taught us that it's like be aware of surroundings and watch and different.
It's different for every scenario. Like stadium wise, you're not allowed any sort of, you go through a metal detector, you're not allowed any sort of weapon, whether it be a firearm or a knife. Like you can't have anything. So that scenario is a lot different than if you're out and about and you're probably carrying. So it's like when you're in a scenario where it's a weapons free zone, like you have to find cover, and you stay together and you find cover, and then like you slowly make your way out of the stadium. You just can't start running. Versus if you have a firearm, you could probably get away with being a little bit quicker to get out of the scenario, because if you do run into an armed gunman, you have at least something to fight back with.
Right. So that's what I would say. Like, just that he's taught self-awareness and knowing your exits, having exit strategies. I'm blessed that he is that protector. So he does not sit with his back to the door. So he will always, if we're in restaurants or different things, he always
try to. Sometimes Miss in Charge just takes a spot. I'm like,
I do
all right.
sometimes.
And I'm just like, all right, you're head of security.
There you go.
Yeah, so that is probably the safety, is just like being aware.
And I would dare say that both you and Maya have gotten a lot better with it, because Maya in the banking world has come across people that have not necessarily pulled a weapon on her to rob her, but they've tried to do fraud of some sort. I remember one specific thing. It was during COVID, and she said that was the most stressful time for her because everybody's wearing a mask.
Oh yeah.
Beforehand, if you had a hat, hood, glasses, or something covering your face, you had to take it off when you walked up to the counter. Now, all of it's okay. So now the only thing visible is basically their nose, if they're lucky. And I remember her telling us a story about how some guy came in with an ID that was just a little off, and she realized it was a little off. So she started to position her in places to like take control of the situation. Mm-hmm. Like normally when they put the ID down, they just look at it and then give it back. But she took it and put it somewhere where he couldn't grab it.
I see.
And then, after a few words, he actually punched the screen that they used to have in front of the tellers into her to try to grab it, and she was still able to get it away from him, and then he ran out the door. And it's like, so she's had to be aware a little bit more because of the job she used to be in.
I was just going to say that. So like she has also kind of taught us be able to identify. So if something does happen and you have somebody come in, you have to be able, were they wearing a green shirt, blue eyes, blonde hair, like how tall were they? Yes.
Because they would get tested on this quite frequently, where someone would come in and then they would leave, and then someone from the corporate office would be like, all right, that person you just dealt with, what color were their eyes? And they're like, excuse me? They're like, well, that person basically just robbed you. They're like, what do you mean? They're like, that was a fake ID.
So yeah, so
wow, that's very similar to my grocery store days, where underage people would be brought in by the state to try to buy get beer.
Yeah. Oh, that's a real thing too. So yeah, so I think just that safety and being aware.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. They still, granted, it only happens when you two are together. When these two ladies are together, my goodness, like you either better be on their side or get the hell out of their way. And it never fails. When I'm not around, something goes down. Okay. Would you like to relay the Disney World incident?
Ooh.
I would not. I feel like we put that in the can. Is that what they call it on podcasts? So we can save that for a future episode.
Okay, so we're going to have to talk about, they got into an altercation in the line of
Lilo and
Stitch with a full-grown adult. Yeah, well, we'll have to, that'll be for another day.
Enough has been said. All of our audience will be
waiting and like,
get so many emails.
Exactly. What's going on with this incident in the line at Disney World?
I think they're going to be more on my side about Ice Cube being in top 4.
Oh, whatever.
So,
Ice Cube is definitely
that's gonna be blowing up your guys's.
No, Ice
feeds.
Cube definitely belongs in the top 4. Okay. Like if you brought up like top 10 hits from Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, Ice Cube would have more. Sorry. I'm not saying that Dr. Dre's not good, but he's a better
Only
producer.
5 spots.
Yeah. But yeah, I would definitely say that you come a long ways with like situational awareness. You've never lacked confidence in anything. That's something that she's been definitely blessed with. Her and Maya, man, they have confidence for days. Confidence for days. So when it comes to Jamin, Jamin's a little bit different story, but he's coming a long ways too. But things have always been a little bit tougher for him just for the fact that he's on the spectrum. So with Jamin, he has what's called social pragmatic disorder, to where outwardly and physically, he looks like your typical old 20-year-old kid. Emotionally and conversationally, he's probably about 15, 16 years old right now. Maybe even younger. I don't know. But he's come a long way with learning how to gain that confidence and communicate with people. Like he's got his own job, he gets his own schedules, and so it's been nice seeing him grow as a young man also. And like we said, he's just gotten a girlfriend, so it's like the days of him being at home all the time are kind of over. And we even talked the other day. It's like, Maya's been moved out for years, and now Jamin's like seeming like he's on his way out. We're like, it's a good thing we like each other because we're the only ones left in this house. So, but yeah, no, it's been quite the ride. We've both learned a lot from each other. We've both seen each other grow in different realms and different aspects. We've always joked who's going to get their masters first, her or me, because her master's in whatever degree she wants to get it in. By the way, it's probably going to be me that's going to get it first, because she stopped like going to school.
It's definitely going to be you first. I would have put my money on myself.
Yeah.
I just have no desire to go back for my master's. None whatsoever. At least not right now.
Well, not only that, but it's not going to make you any more money. So it's like, why are you going to get a master's degree if it's not going to make you more money? It's like, that's the point of education, right? It's to help you get more money.
I feel
I'd like to propose that same question to you, though.
What?
Would getting a master's make you more money?
Will getting a master's make me more money?
Stephen.
Yes and no.
Yes and
no. Because nobody really cares if you are a master, okay? But when we have more schools and we have more instructors, yes, that can actually make the dojo more money because you can sell the person as the quote-unquote master. So you could be like, hey, sign up for this extra master's class. Or, hey, this class is being taught by master so-and-so. Don't make sure you don't miss it. So will I, sell myself more? I won't sell myself more. I will hopefully have, others. You sell myself more. Max sell me more. All the non people that are masters more. Like right now, I've got the privilege of selling Master Martin and Master Lenton.
That's right.
It's like they don't sell themselves as like, come train with the masters. It's like, no, you should really come train with these dudes. They know what they're talking about, and they're both masters in the martial arts.
Understandable.
So it's a yes and no. Like if I was by myself, no, nobody cares. Like nobody gives two shits on if you have 5 stripes on your belt versus 1 stripe on your belt. Half the time I don't even wear my belt. Okay. So it's like, can you teach my kid that can't sit still? Yeah, of course we can.
Doesn't matter if you're a master or
no,
whatever title.
No. In fact, it was interesting. One of the guys that used to have this spot before us back in the day, it was an old Taekwondo school. Okay. And I remember specifically coming in here grassrooting with a guy named Steve Carter. Shout out to Steve Carter. And we walked by this front door and we just kind of peeked in. And he happened to be in here. And I remember coming in and the layout was completely different. And we're like, oh, it's a beautiful school. I'm trying to be nice, this and that. And he had this big old scroll behind the desk. I was like, oh, that's pretty. Where'd you get that? He's like, I made it. And I'm like, okay, you're not going to talk to me, so we're just going to kind of get out of here. And then I was like, hey, thanks for letting us in. Have a great day. And we were leaving, and then I saw on the door, he basically posted a resume of his accomplishments. Undefeated grand champion, Mexican grand champion, Swedish grand champion, lightweight this grand champion, and like all these quote unquote undefeated this, undefeated that. One of the coaches for the Seoul Taekwondo Olympic team. And I'm just thinking, I don't care. Can you teach a 5-year-old?
Right.
Can you teach my 5-year-old that has ADD or that has too much energy? Like, I don't really care what grand champion you think you are.
See, and I kind of have a different opinion on that. Is you're right. I may not make more money with my masters, but sometimes you want it for yourself.
No, yeah.
Just to be like, I got my master's.
Yeah.
I have my master's degree. I want that for myself. I just am not there yet.
No, I agree.
And it's interesting. I said I probably should have just stayed in school and just kept going. But I was like, no, I need a break. And here I am. But I'm not ready to go back. So, Mark, you're going to get your master's before me.
Hopefully, barring anything catastrophic.
Yeah, I think you're definitely on the trajectory to get your master's before me.
I sure hope so.
And I will applaud you, and I will be your biggest cheerleader because
yay!
I'm not getting my master's anytime soon.
Okay, now this is coming from somebody that already has effectively 3 bachelor's degrees.
Incredible.
Okay. I mean, you have a bachelor's in finance, accounting, and what else? Because one of them you got a double major in.
Accounting and finance.
Accounting and
then
finance.
Business. Yes.
Just business.
Correct.
So you have a BS degree.
Yes.
In all every sense of the word.
And that is why I don't want to get my MBA. Hey, it's just no desire.
I remember talking about in the meeting when you were in school how you brought up to the professor, sir, that's not how it's done in the real world anymore. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're like, this is how we used to do it 5 years ago. And they're like, what? You're like, this is how we do it now. You're like, you were teaching old, outdated material.
If anybody is in accounting school or you're taking accounting classes, I will tell you everything they're teaching you is not how the real world is doing it at all.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's a waste of time, but it's almost a waste of time.
I wouldn't say waste because you understand the back end of accounting without going accounting lingo. You understand the back end.
Fair enough.
So,
Fair
yes.
enough.
Yes.
But, yeah, so.
No masters here. Carry on.
No masters here. But, yeah, honestly, we could sit here and talk and talk and talk and talk. But we're an hour and 39 minutes in.
I'm going to give him an ultimatum that he's going to have to buy dinner.
I'm definitely going to buy dinner. Stephen, would you like to join us for dinner?
I might have to join you for dinner.
All right.
Perfect.
You can join us for dinner. But Shanna,
see if he invites me ever out here ever again.
Shanna, I appreciate you taking the time to travel all the way from the downtown Salt Lake City, braving that Salt Lake City traffic during rush hour to come all the way out here to our little South Jordan dojo and just having a conversation and having some fun with us. And hopefully someone out there listening has taken away something from our conversation and been like, yeah, I can relate to that. Or, dang, like if they can do that, so can I. Or if she can do that, you know what? There's nothing stopping me from doing that. So, and we really haven't even tapped into the good parts of Shanna in terms of like the adversity she's had to overcome and go through. This will have to be a part 2, but for those of you that don't know Shanna, she unfortunately lost her mom when she was 19 years old. And without getting too deep into it and getting too emotional with it, she effectively had to raise a 1-year-old daughter and her 13-year-old brother as a newly minted 19-year-old girl. So someone had to grow up real fast and know what it meant to be a part of the real world way faster than she should have been. So that, I think, is an unfortunate situation that did happen, but it ultimately turned you into the person that you are today in terms of your resilience and your grit and your willingness to do everything you can to put your family first. And I will always be grateful for that. I remember meeting your mom maybe only once when we were in school. And at the time, I didn't think much of it, but I thought she was a nice lady. And then I think shortly after that, she passed. So I wish I would have been able to talk with her more. I think her and I would have probably gotten into some big time arguments. Not like we hate each other arguments, but our views would have probably been very different. And that's great. Okay. Because I think Mama Carlton, because her last name was Carlton, Mama Carlton was very much on the liberal side of things, and that's absolutely fine. And I think her and I would have been able to have some good discussions on certain things. So we didn't really get a chance to talk too much about that. Maybe we'll try to delve into that next time without getting you too emotional about it, because I don't want you to get upset about anything talking like that. So
Definitely not. It's been so many years. I definitely can talk more about it.
you just basically passed the time frame to where you've lived longer without her than you did with her, and that was
That actually happened 6 years ago. So I was 19 when she died, and she died 25, almost 26 years ago.
and that was a real rough. That was a rough couple of days for sure.
Correct. And also the rough when she died young. So when my age.
Yeah, you're almost her age when she passed too.
I passed that. Yeah. So she was 42. I'm older than 42. So there's that.
That was a rough time too. But yeah, Mama Carlton, she's doing great. We're keeping an eye on her. Pretty much all the Carltons, her grandma and grandpa, who were a big part of her life, have now unfortunately passed. And yeah, it's without ending on a downer. Like everybody's like, there's been a big part of her life that we're filling those voids. So she's recently gotten into more trashy TV, like the Real World Challenge and all those MTV nonsense. But
I watch a lot of trash TV.
Yeah. Hey, everybody's got their guilty pleasure. We love her for it.
Hey, he works nights, guys. Yeah. Like, hey, like my kids are out of the house. Like, I eat charcuterie boards for dinner and watch trashy TV.
Charcuterie, TikTok.
Yeah.
Thank you. It is like the best life. I'm living the best life.
We have not puppies. We have dogs. They're not puppies anymore. We have dogs. They're great. So, but yeah, we'll have Shanna. Thank you very much for coming in and sharing some of your experiences with us. It's been one hell of a ride.
Agreed. And Stephen, feel free to edit all of this out.
Edit nothing out.
Edit it all out.
Edit nothing out.
Unless it's the intro, which I have to redo.
Yeah, exactly. So if he's got to edit something, that means he's got to fill it in with something from him.
No.
He doesn't want to do that.
I don't want to talk more than I have to.
Exactly. So, but I appreciate you for everything you have done, everything you will do, for me, the kids, the people that you don't even know. Okay, I'm going to leave it on this because I feel like this is very, very important. When you have a calm household, you have a productive workplace. Okay, so if you know that everything's good at home, your wife's good, your family's good, your house is good, you work harder and you work smarter and you're far more productive. When you have a upset wife, your kids hate you, your house is falling apart, your work is the same thing. Okay, so your work is a reflection of how you are at home. So unbeknownst to you, all the students are getting good lessons because of you. Because if you were for lack of a better term, nasty or a bitch at home, I would be bitchy and nasty with the students here.
You're welcome, guys. I got your back, all of you.
Yeah.
All 125 of you.
So when
You're welcome. I got you.
When you see Shanna, say, "Hey, thanks for making me have such good lessons."
Thank you for making me good at karate.
Exactly. So you are. I'm not even kidding. You are indirectly affecting the students' training.
I would also agree. So
Yeah.
I agree with that
So
statement.
I appreciate that, and I love you for that. So, but we will have to have you back on, and maybe we'll drag the kids with us. We'll see.
Till next time,
next time.
friends.
Thank you for tuning in with us. If you have any comments, suggestions, next top 5, feel free to leave it in the comments down below. Again, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Amazon Music, Apple. Shanna, you're going to have to deal with Apple because Stephen and I have tried and tried and tried, and we are just Apple stupid. Okay? You are not Apple stupid.
I brought Mark over to the dark side.
Yeah, she
Apple.
did.
I'll help with Apple.
So if we're not on Apple podcast stuff within the next week or so, start emailing Shanna. #Shanna. Okay? Say #Shanna Y. Yeah. We'll put her link and her email in the bio and all that in the description down below. But thank you again for coming on out. We really appreciate it. We love having you here. And make sure you kick it back with us next time, everybody.
Kick it with us next time. Bye, everyone.